Welcome to the Post and Track webinar, Beyond the Hype, Cloud Computing's Impact on Healthcare IT. My name is Andrew McFarland. I'm a marketing specialist for Post and Track, and I will be your host. Joining us today will be David Barth, Post and Track Senior Director of Strategic Development. Hello, David.
Good afternoon.
Before beginning today's presentation, I'd like to quickly get a few items out of the way. All callers on the line today will be muted so as not to disturb anyone else's experience. If you would like to ask a question during the webinar, please type it into the Q&A dialog box in the WebEx discussion panel. We will answer as many questions as possible at the end of today's webinar, and if we are unable to answer your question during the time allotted, we will follow up with an email. A video copy of today's webinar will be made available within the next few days. We will send an email providing a link when it is ready. So I want to start by stating that the objective today is to show you that if you are not already looking at a cloud-based solution for your core administrative functions, you absolutely should be. To do this, we'll be presenting use cases that demonstrate how and why industry-leading health plans such as Cigna, Aetna, and United Healthcare are already using cloud computing, and then explaining the benefits of them doing so. Before we get there, we'll start today's presentation with an overview of how cloud computing evolved, the hype it came with, and how it has moved beyond initial concerns to become the impactful resource it is today, and then make the transition into the use cases portion of today's webinar. Let's start our overview by defining cloud computing. We could spend all day explaining the many variations and nuances, but let's keep it simple. Cloud computing is the practice of using a network of remote servers hosted on the internet rather than a local server or personal computer to store, manage, and process data. That's simple enough, right? But let's give this definition a little more context for the purposes of this webinar. The underlying yet overwhelming benefit of the cloud lies in the way computing power is purchased and used. When you subscribe to a cloud-based solution, you are basically renting the means to fulfill a need instead of purchasing them. Let's elaborate a little more and discuss some of the benefits of cloud computing. A great example for comparison is transportation. The traditional way to fulfill your need to move about is to buy and own a vehicle. This involves an important upfront investment and ongoing maintenance costs as the car depreciates in value. And let's not forget that these costs are constant except for gas, even though 95% of the time your car sits parked or idle. Eventually, you'll need to replace your vehicle and go through the buying and maintaining process again and again. Sure, buying is an option, but it becomes more and more costly, especially as the car becomes outdated. Now, another option is to use a car service as needed at a comparatively cheaper rate, in this case, for the cost per mile. Per regulations, the car is maintained and kept up with date with all the latest safety features. It also comes with an expert driver, therefore delivering you more safely and efficiently to your destination, reducing your own efforts. Now imagine cloud computing, or Post and Track for that matter, as that car service. It is always available, but the cost is shared and you only pay for what you need, reducing your CapEx. This is what cloud computing is delivering to its customers. Greater usage of the most recent and compliant computer technologies and expertise at a fraction of the cost, without the usual necessary high maintenance and depreciating infrastructure. Now, cloud computing has been around much longer than its trending popularity. It is often powered by virtualization technology, which actually dates back to 1967. Often the original cloud concept is attributed to computer scientist John McCarthy, who proposed an idea of computation being delivered as a public utility. Since that time, the technology has slowly developed, but couldn't really reach the masses until the expansion of the internet in the 1990s, which made access to remote computing resources much easier and ubiquitous. In the last few years, this trend has accelerated even further with the successful development of mobile technology like smartphones and tablets. Cloud computing's first true significant milestone was the arrival of Salesforce.com in 1999, which pioneered the concept of delivering enterprise applications via a simple website. The software as a service firm paved the way for both specialists and mainstream software vendors like Post and Track to deliver applications over the internet. From there, we moved on to Amazon Web Services in 2002, which provided users with a suite of cloud-based services including storage, computation, and even business intelligence through the Amazon Mechanical Turk. Then in 2006, Amazon launched its Elastic Compute Cloud, otherwise known as EC2, as a commercial web service that allows small companies and individuals to rent infrastructure on which to run their own applications. Jeremy Allaire, the CEO of Brightcove, named Amazon's EC2 the first widely accessible cloud computing infrastructure service. And in 2008, the leading IT analyst firm Gartner joined the growing buzz by publishing an article entitled Cloud Computing, Defining and Describing an Emerging Phenomenon, which definitely placed cloud computing on the map. Web 2.0, as it was popularly nicknamed, really became mainstream in 2009 when Google and others started to offer browser-based enterprise applications through services such as Google Apps. This is when we really began to see an incredible amount of attention become devoted to the cloud and the arrival of a plethora of vendors in the marketplace. This is also when PostNTrack embraced the technology and moved its offering to the cloud. Now, what Google, Amazon, and others did in 2009 was to bring technology vendors and the media that covered them to a tipping point of realization that cloud computing offered tremendous potential, creating a large amount of excitement and hype. So what you see here are some of the bold statements that were being made, and let's look at some of the words being used here. It was called a meta-trend, a reality, a force to be dealt with, and the most hyped subject in IT. These are pretty powerful descriptions. Excitement over the cloud computing burst so loudly onto the scene, in fact, that even the healthcare industry, which typically lags in technology adoption, was taking notice and discussing it at huge industry events like HIMSS, who that year actually offered a published piece entitled Cloud Computing Healthcare, Bad Weather or Sunny Forecast. It is important to note here that the focus for the industry at this point was mainly on how providers could use cloud computing to their benefit, but the buzz was definitely growing louder. Now, why was it getting louder? Because of the promises the cloud offered: agility and scalability, faster compliance, cost efficiency, and improved collaboration. These are huge promises for everyone, but especially for payers. So let's discuss each one of these in more detail. Agility in a business sense means your organization responds to needs faster. This becomes possible with the cloud because the necessary computing power or business functionality is readily available, instead of needing to go through a costly and slow process of procuring and learning new infrastructure or building new applications on your older legacy infrastructure. Elasticity is also a key differentiator for the cloud. It is an important extension of scalability, which is the ability to increase usage as necessary. Scalability is a popular term because everybody wants to think about how fast they can grow if necessary, right? Except when growth becomes idle with steep costs associated to it. Cloud computing moves beyond scalability with elasticity, or the ability to quickly increase or decrease your computer usage and the costs that go along with it as necessary. This should not be undervalued, and here's why. New mandates bring a need for temporarily increased usage, often on a large scale. But once that process is done, an organization needs to be able to quickly ramp down its usage to control costs. Cloud computing elasticity is a much more effective and cost-efficient alternative to traditional IT models, which require large investment for system upgrades, testing, and training on infrastructure that will eventually become outdated anyways. As you all know, compliance in the healthcare industry is not an option. It is top of mind for healthcare payer executives, as consequences for failing to comply can be devastating for their companies or even themselves. Simply put, compliance can be easily achieved by proxy when using cloud-based vendors that are accredited, meaning their compliance is transferred to you when you contract to use their services. For instance, some elements of Core 1 and 2 compliance, which deals with eligibility and claim statuses, can be achieved much faster by proxy through contracting with PostNTrack rather than your organization having to set up the necessary infrastructure. Also, the expertise necessary to maintain compliance when it evolves is embedded in the value of the cloud solution and therefore does not have to be part of your cost structure. We'll provide you with a great example of this in one of our use cases later. So even if agility, elasticity, and faster compliance are significant benefits, cost efficiency is probably the most attractive one brought by cloud computing. It has three parts to it. First, utilization of the cloud allows customers to forego the traditional upfront investments in hardware and software by migrating to a pay-as-you-go model. This move toward operational expenses instead of capital expenditure provides relief by helping IT organizations to better manage their budgets. Second, It also allows CIOs to become more flexible by scaling their investments up and down as needed to support the changing needs of the business or to respond to the evolving regulatory environment. Another advantage is that mutualization of expert resources that are embedded in the service. All of it helps to keep resources, people, and systems in control. Finally, through virtualization, the use of computing power is optimized. Whereas traditional architecture guidelines would have you dedicate servers to an application, often leading to underutilization of the available computing power, virtualization allows you to maximize this power by allocating resources in real time to the application needing them. So let's go back to our car service example from before. What if you could maximize the usage of the car or minimize its idleness by eliminating drivers? This is a concept you may have heard that Google and others are working on. By combining continuous availability and allocating the right vehicle to the specific customer need, you create an even more efficient process, eliminating resource costs and barriers. So the promise of improved collaboration is driven by sharing resources and processes. A great example of how collaboration can provide tremendous results is that if the process of submitting claims and gathering responses is moved into the cloud, instead of duplicating and trying to synchronize two independent processes, both submitters and recipients can share resources and expertise in the cloud to improve efficiency and satisfaction. Both payers and providers experience greater transparency through cloud collaboration. Instead of having an exclusive processes that need to be matched, they will share them in environments that are accessible by all users, allowing for better visibility into the issues at hand. There is a great example of this in the transportation world. I didn't know if you've ever used a ride-sharing service. They have a terrific feature that shows you where the incoming car is while you're waiting for it, making the waiting process much less stressful than a standard taxi service in comparison, due to the fact you know at all times where the car is. Collaboration and transparency also bring additional benefits. Efficiency. Healthcare administration is all about managing exceptions. If when something breaks, you need to first spend trying to figure out what went wrong without being able to see into the process, it is going to take a while. When processes and resources are shared and both parties can directly collaborate with full visibility on the issue, not only is the process more transparent, but is more efficient for all. Despite all these promises, though, payer adoption has lagged, enough so that cloud computing would not land on Gartner's hype cycle for healthcare payers until 2013. But why? The answer is health plan executives remain concerned about the security of PHI, reliability of access to data, and the ability to integrate new technology with their old legacy infrastructures. Let's look into how each of these concerns has been addressed. PHI security keeps the industry awake at night. Even if this has been a genuine concern for the adoption of cloud technology, the federal government, standard bodies, and the industry in general have taken significant steps to mitigate their risk. Right as the cloud was arriving in 2009, Congress passed a regulation called the HITECH Act, which imposed stricter penalties for HIPAA violations and expanded the organizations bound by HIPAA regulations to include business associates of medical offices. Later, in March 2013, the Department of Health and Human Services addressed cloud liability with the HIPAA Omnibus Rule, which modified HIPAA to make business associate vendors that users contracted with directly liable for complying with certain HIPAA privacy and security rule requirements. Accreditation has also helped in the process of cloud vendors like PostNtrack confirming PHI security. ENAC, whose mission is to promote accreditation in the healthcare industry to achieve quality and trust for information exchange, addressed security concerns by developing accreditation programs that assessed and verified that outsourced vendors exceeded security requirements when it comes to PHI security, requiring a risk management program with effective controls that appropriately minimize threats. One example of their criteria is that they required cloud vendors to make it possible for ENAC to arrange a site visit, guaranteeing that those who seek accreditation kept their data storage centers within the United States, keeping data under U.S. jurisdiction and accessible to the actual data owners. According to guidance developed by the Secretary of Health and Human Services, cloud users and vendors who use accepted HIPAA encryption technology and techniques can mitigate risks and reduce their exposure to costly data breaches. Encryption also provides a safe harbor to adoptive organizations in the case of data loss. When you add these reasons to the fact that data encryption technology and methodologies have made remarkable progress in the last few years, it becomes clear that encryption is not a nice-to-have when it comes to the security and integrity of your data. It has to be part of any cloud offering. Now, other concerns about the availability and the reliability of data in the cloud have also been addressed. Cloud computing vendors such as PostandTrack quickly grew to understand that reliability was essential for their business. If data wasn't available to their users, it could destroy the credibility of the cloud as a viable business option, so best practices and standards were developed. Along with PHI, ENAC also developed standards that provided cloud computing users with assurances that the vendor they were using had been prepared, evaluated, and verified in areas such as response time, systems availability, level of service, and escalation procedures. Accreditation standards have also helped overcome concerns about the cloud's reliability, as today the average annual uptime for cloud computing vendors in the healthcare industry is over 99.9%. And by providing a redundant network, cloud computing providers can keep data available pretty much in real time, even if a cloud server fails. The big point we really want to make here is that when considering the cloud, payer organizations should always use an accredited vendor, which PostandTrack is. This means health plans can be confident they have an extremely reliable option when it comes to accessing and managing their data. What we know of legacy systems is that they're not going away anytime in the near future. They are currently coded in a very linear fashion, which makes untangling them from current processes highly complicated. IT leaders believe in the cloud, but they're hamstrung by old systems and processes. Even if some core systems will not be migrated to the cloud in the near future, like claims adjudication, there's a lot of room to leverage the technology around them. The problem with that is that while there is easier, more efficient, and cost-effective methods available via the cloud, the effort involved to move to it can be daunting as well as prohibitive, including the thought and cost of maintaining and updating staff skills. Cloud computing vendors such as PostandTrack have addressed this by providing technical expertise for their clients for implementation, including the option of ongoing management of the cloud services necessary for them. Cloud-based integration and information exchange are two of the greatest areas of opportunity. They are great ways to extend the functionalities of legacy systems by making them more open and available to business partners, therefore making it easier to do business with you. So now we've provided you with a brief history of cloud computing, including why payers were both excited and worried about its arrival in healthcare IT, and how initial concerns have been addressed. But where does that put us today? The fact is, cloud computing is no longer just being talked about by payers. As you can see here, cloud computing is certainly being used within the industry. Cloud computing in some form is being used by 83% of healthcare IT organizations today, and 67% of users are utilizing software as a service application to do so. Yet many cloud-based applications that health plans are utilizing the cloud for today, such as email and sales database management, are still not core administrative functions. So what are the top 3 reasons for adopting a cloud solution in healthcare IT today? According to a HIMSS survey of CIOs, they are less cost, rapid deployment, and lack of internal expertise. This is what your peers are saying, and these reasons align perfectly with why healthcare IT organizations should be using cloud computing for core administrative functions. When it comes to adopting the cloud, the most important thing for health plans is to achieve value from it. We just showed the reasons why health plans are making a change. Here we now want to show you the way value is measured once that change is made, according to the 2014 HIMSS Analytics Cloud Survey, meaning this is what adopters in your industry are measuring cloud computing use success on. As you can see, they are expanding their capabilities, controlling costs, faster deployment, and compliance. Everything today's healthcare IT departments are charged with managing can be improved by cloud computing. But can the cloud truly help your organization when just applied to your email? The answer is no. So the leading health plans in the industry know that using the cloud for their core administrative functions brings them the best value cloud computing offers, helping to deploy solutions faster, control costs, and better manage resources. The same reasons you were exploring cloud computing in the first place, but on a larger, more important scale. It's time for us to give a few use case examples of how PostandTrack's cloud-based platform has delivered those results to our customers. Let's get started.
Thank you, Andrew. We will explore 4 use cases today. All of them are in production and represent how cloud-based solutions can help you accelerate your administrative simplification efforts. Be it for compliance, cost control, system transition, or velocity, leveraging a cloud-based solution provides compelling benefits, and we encourage you to consider this option today, as your peers are already doing. First, let's look at a common need among health plans, resolving the tension between the continually evolving regulatory environment and their complex, slow-changing legacy systems. Let's look at how a mid-sized health plan was able to quickly comply to regulations while virtually not touching its legacy system. Like all health plans in the U.S., compliance with mandates is not an option. This payer needed to find a solution to comply with the latest operating rules for real-time eligibility and claim status requests and responses. These rules, also known as Core 1 and 2 operating rules, describe how health plans and their business partners should exchange standard transactions containing data regarding the eligibility information of a member or the status of a specific claim. This includes the data itself, but also a series of rules and formats to transport it in a standard and predictable way. The benefits of such operating rules is automation and therefore the streamlining of the exchange process to reduce cost and increase efficiency. The challenge was not the data, since it was accessible and maintained in the health plan's legacy system. The problem was the exchange of it. By exchange, I mean the automated reception of a request and the compiling and sending of a Core 1 or 2 compliant response to it. For many reasons, such as the complexity of the system or the scarcity and cost of resources, modifying the legacy application did not seem to be the right move. The solution instead was to leverage the cloud-based PostNtrack hosted data services offering. This Core 1 and 2 compliance solution allows health plans to quickly comply to the ACA mandates. All they have to do is synchronize their eligibility and claim status data with PostNtrack, and we take care of the rest. This includes managing and maintaining the hosted solution, providing relevant and required support and training to the health plan, as well as the necessary regulatory updates. PostNtrack is also managing the onboarding process and support to the health plan's submitter base, allowing for a growing community of providers directly connected to the payer. In a few months, this customer addressed its compliance challenge without having to go through the daunting task of modifying its legacy system. They were also able to provide more transparency and efficiency to their business partner community. There are many ways cloud computing helps customers control costs. The shift to operational expenditures from CapEx is a big one, of course, but there are also cases where moving to a cloud-based solution can significantly reduce already existing operational costs. In this case, a national health plan reduced its real-time transaction unit cost by 66% over the course of 5 years. That's approximately $4 million a year, in case you were wondering. The genesis of this collaboration and its objective was not cost reduction at first, it was again compliance. However, it became very evident quickly that it will become its main benefit. This leading national payer needed to find a way to provide its business partners, providers, healthcare delivery organization, billing vendor, or for that matter, any type of submitting an entity with a way to submit electronic eligibility requests at no cost to them. This was to respond to a new regulation from the federal government to promote the electronic exchange of healthcare administrative information. A traditional way to do that would be to contract with one or multiple clearinghouses and billing companies in order to manage the many-to-one problem. That is, the many submitters that do business with the one you. In this case, the plan contracts with hundreds of thousands of health organizations. The issue with this strategy is its cost, of course, as you pay for all the intermediaries in the value chain, as well as its opacity or lack of transparency, if you prefer, or lack of transparency. It is always difficult and cost-inducive when you're trying to resolve issues between the two ends of that chain. The health plan decided to leverage PostNtrac's cloud-based EDI service as an extension of its IT environment to provide direct connectivity to its trading partners. Implemented as a pilot at first, it was deployed nationally and today handles more than half of the payer's real-time load. The combination of the affordability of the solution, the disintermediation strategy it allows, and the economies of scale it brings drove the unit cost of the transaction down by 66%. Again, a $4 million a year saving. This does not, however, take into account the benefits of the total transparency experienced by both payers and provider users. This resulted in faster resolution of support cases, and increased satisfaction in the community. This next case also involves controlling costs, but in a different context. By leveraging a cloud-based solution, this regional payer was able to migrate from an aging, non-compliant system to a new compliant one in a few months without discontinuing service to its business partners. It also handled a major standard transition in the process. More than 600,000 members strong, this health plan was looking to synchronize a major upgrade of its back-office system with the transition from the HIPAA 4010 transaction and code sets to the 5010 format. Already a PostNtrack customer for its claims and related transactions intake, the payer reached out to our team to discuss the mitigation of a major risk, how to make the compliance imperative independent from the migration project for its real-time transactions. The health plan did not want to find itself in the situation where it would not be able to accept 5010 transactions because its back-office system conversion project was late. Even though the planning seemed secured, there was no room for taking changes. They also wanted to avoid to have to run both 4010 and 5010 systems in parallel for a long period of time if the migration project ended up being completed on time. They were able to address both challenges quickly with PostNtrack Hosted Data Services offering. During the transition period, the cloud-based service took over the management of all requests and responses for eligibility, claim status, and referral and authorizations. Decoupling the real-time service from the back-office migration and allowing the health plans and its vendors to concentrate on the system upgrade. As a result, the payer did not miss the compliance date and moved to 5010 successfully. It also was able to shut down its old 4010 system 6 months before the transition date and save the cost of running and maintaining 2 applications. Lastly, and this is the beauty of a cloud-based solution, they were able to, as planned and agreed, shut down the PostNtrack service and repatriate it into their data center. The last case we wanted to explore today talks about speed to solution and presents how a 140,000 member plan went from dire prospect to compliance in less than 90 days. As you all know, smaller plans mean scarcer resources, but unfortunately the same amount of regulatory pressure. This customer was faced with the uncomfortable prospect of being fined for non-compliance if they did not figure out a solution quickly. Like our previous example, they had the data but could not make it compliant and did not have the resources to modify their internal system or purchase and install a new one. The transactions were, again, eligibility, claim status, and referral and auth. Based on the time constraint, PostNtrack would work actively with the health plan to develop a mutually acceptable time frame. The PostNtrack Hosted Data Services offering would be set up within 60 to 90 days, making the health plan compliant before the deadline. Moreover, no additional resources would be necessary on the payer side, as PostNtrack manages and maintains the hosted solution, including future compliance upgrades. PostNtrack also manages the connectivity, maintenance, and frontline support of the health plan's submitter base, which allows the payer's resources to concentrate on other, more important tasks. By leveraging PostNtrack cloud-based portfolio of solutions, these health plans are able to meet and maintain compliance faster, control costs, be more flexible, and improve their collaborations with their trading partners within their core administrative functions. The impact of these benefits are more and more significant as payers need to meet their medical loss ratio and actively participate in the administrative simplification initiatives across the country. Before we conclude today, I want to very briefly provide you with a little more information about PostNTrack. We are a CAQH Core certified and ENAC accredited healthcare information logistics company who has been growing and achieving success with payers for the last 10 years. PostNTrack has the infrastructure, architecture, and applications to support all the needs of your transactions with proven scalability, extensive subject matter expertise, consistent SLA attainment, and great service. We really pride ourselves on understanding our customers' and users' needs and continually commit to exceeding expectations. PostNTrack's flexible cloud-based platform is based upon pre-built solutions that are value-driven to deliver results with speed, cost efficiency, and world-class service. We serve and work with some of the largest, more complex commercial health plans in the country, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare being our main customers, but also serve an array of smaller regional health plans and various vendors. On behalf of those customers, we reach our reach include more than 140,000 unique submitting providers all across the country, as you can see on this map. And we deliver on behalf of payers a world-class service at no cost to them. Andrew?
Thank you, David. So in conclusion, everything we discussed today in regards to cloud computing, from helping with compliance to controlling costs or allowing you to transition systems, is something that PostNTrack can help you with. We've proven it time and time again with some of the leading health plans in the country. If you have any needs or questions, please feel free to contact us. Thank you for your time today. We hope you found this presentation beneficial. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the Q&A section at this time. All right, looks like we answered all your questions with the presentation. We thank you for your time today, and have a good day.